All right, got a couple of two old guys here, but
Look at this.
where did our gray hairs come from? But anyway, thanks for watching the All Sports Tucson talk here. We're doing a video version here with Anthony Gimino. I'm Javier Morales. Anthony's been around for ages.
As you can tell.
So long that he was here when June Olkowski was the women's basketball coach in the late 80s, right?
Late 80s. So it's been a while. We're recording this after Arizona beat New Mexico in women's hoops. Pretty good game tonight, but as I referenced, it's been a long time since I've been at a women's game.
Yeah.
But I did start like in 1987, and back then, I mean, today was 8,800. You didn't get a season of 8,800. I mean, the games were 100.
That's right.
Yeah, it was one of those situations where you could count the attendance if you had to.
Mm-hmm.
So to see the growth, to see Tucson embrace women's basketball is still amazing to me. Because just knowing the kind of the humble beginnings.
Did you ever think that it would be like this, though? I mean, at that point, yeah.
Could have never thought, even when they were good. I mean, when Joan Bombacini came on board, they were winning, going to NCAA tournaments, having some big games here. It was nothing like this.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's a factor of the growth of women's basketball in general,
mm-hmm.
women's athletics. But I'd attribute about 90% of that to Adia Barnes and the force of her personality, mm-hmm. not only with bringing in great recruits and great kids and great players, mm-hmm. but being able to kind of reach out and touch the community in a way where they react positively to it. And that's, no, I could have never envisioned this.
Yeah, I mean, if Arizona doesn't have Adia Barnes, could this happen? I would think they could possibly get a coach that can make them a winner, but just the excitement around the program, and she draws people just by herself. It's amazing just the talk now of how big women's basketball now is in Arizona. Where I covered them when in Joan's early years, as a matter of fact, her first year, and Joan brought a little bit of that, but it was more of like she's been to the Final Four, Long Beach State. She was a proven coach. Adia's not a proven coach. That's another aspect of this that's just amazing that she's really learned. She's come along and learned in a big way as far as a winning way. I mean, just you've seen it evolve. What do you think about now? What can happen now with this program? Because it hasn't reached its potential yet, I don't think.
Right. I mean, you would think, based on the fact that she got like 2 raises and with a span of like a week last year, mm-hmm. Arizona's committed to Adia Barnes and will try to be committed to Adia Barnes, and I think she wants to be here. I think she's going to win a national title. I mean,
she came with a shot, a shot at the elbow away from it last,
exactly.
in April. Yeah.
I think it's only going to get better. Now, winning a national title, of course, you know that you have to be great, mm-hmm. but you got to be a little bit lucky. As you progress through the tournament. Mm-hmm. But if you keep having opportunities, just like with Lute Olson, you keep knocking on the door, you keep having opportunities, one of those years, everything's going to fall into place, even if it's that year you're not really expecting it.
Yeah.
Like 1997 for the men.
Yeah.
So, but I think she's going to have continued at-bats to get to deep in the tournament, get to the Final Four and make something happen. I think she's going to win a national title here.
Yeah, so do I. It's great to think back at some of the players that we've known that I covered, and you were part of you were in the U of A SID. We should say that you were part of the sports information department.
Only back when this was again late '80s. Back when they let a student do it.
Yeah.
Because a student who didn't know anything could do it. Right? You didn't have 8,800 people. You didn't have media. You didn't have TV. You didn't have the internet, of course, and Twitter and all the social media stuff.
Different world.
So basically, you just had to write the weekly press release, like the yearly media guide, mm-hmm. and the great part was I got to travel with the team for a few years. Where on the road, I kept the official scorebook, just did some administrative mm-hmm. stuff. But I would after the game, the only way the local media knew what had happened was if I called them. Sure. So I called the TV station, call Channel 4 and say, hey, I've got to score the women's basketball game. And I swear, often the actual response was, so.
Well, yeah.
Nobody cared.
Well, because there's 200
Nobody
people in the
cared. All they,
stands.
and that, even if they used it, they just used a score, like top score, and they play next Saturday against Washington State. That was all they wanted to know. And because you worked at the paper.
Oh yeah.
Basically, there was nobody covering the team. There was no beat writer.
No, it was all roundup stuff.
You got like 3 paragraphs in a weekly UA roundup.
Right.
That was the coverage of UA women's basketball.
And granted, that's more than 30 years ago, but still, just the way it's
Thanks.
just. Well, I was there in the early 90s myself, and I just remember Joan getting 4,000 here for Tennessee, for number 1 Tennessee, and at that time that was huge. 4,000 here now would be a small crowd.
That'd be like a Wednesday night 9:00 tip off against Division II school.
Yeah, I don't even think they'll get to 4,000 really, because the way the attendance and the season tickets have been.
It reminds me now of about 1991, 92 Arizona softball.
Yeah.
Because the same thing. Arizona softball, late 80s and 90s, really good program, was going to the College World Series. But then, and they had some big games. When UCLA was here, that was a big game. But at the old Giddings Field, what was a big game? Maybe that was 500. I don't even know what they could pack in there. But once they
capacity.
But once, it kind of was. Once they won the first championship in '91, and then 2 years later they opened Hillenbrand, and then it was the place to be. So I kind of see some parallels with women's basketball being in that same spot. They've tasted some success. People are, we always used to call UA softball like Tucson's darlings. Mm-hmm. Well, now there's 2 kind of programs that fit into that mode, and women's basketball is kind of right there, ready to launch in an even bigger way after already having some success.
Yeah, I mean, as long as Adia's here, and I don't see her going anywhere really. The only possibility would be the WNBA. I don't see her going to another college program. Look what happened this year with Baylor and all that. So, she could be here for 30 years at least.
Yeah.
She's really young. So, I mean, it's amazing to think of what Arizona could be, down the road. It could be like a Tennessee or a South Carolina, or one of those programs that are established. Connecticut, UConn. They beat UConn last year. So.
Yeah, and in terms of just great, you'd call it an upset. In terms of great UA upsets, and just flat out great games, that's in the top 3 or 5 of any game, any sport.
Yeah. Her beating Gino Ariyama is like Lute beating John Wooden in his early Arizona career. But so it's a lot to look forward to. As reporters, we got to be objective, but it's we like what we see, because it gets people to read our stuff or listen to us, and people are so involved now with the program. So well, it's great talking to you, Anthony.
Good times.
It's not like I don't see you a lot, but it's great talking to you anyway about the U of A and the women's basketball program, and we'll get together sometime again. Appreciate it. Thanks for watching.